Hello everyone, welcome to Platform Studio. I'm here after a long break. In today's tutorial, we'll discuss Vray 3DsMax's render elements and how to do post-production in Photoshop with those render elements. Watch the full tutorial to unveil the essential skill required to seamlessly integrate Vray's render elements with Adobe Photoshop. So without further ado, let's learn how to use Vray 3DsMax render elements in Adobe Photoshop. In today's tutorial, I'm using Vray 6. You can also get similar results with older Vray 5. So first, as always, I have a 3D scene here. It's a semi-indoor scene, a lobby. We have lots of objects to work with here. First, let's explore what render settings I'm using and let's learn how to add render elements before rendering. Oh, another thing, only 10% of my viewers are subscribed to the channel, so if you give a sub, it will be really helpful. The file I have used for this tutorial is given in the description link below. You can download it and practice. So let's go to render, then render setup. This is the render setup window. Now, under the common parameters, we will select our render resolution. I am choosing Full HD 1920x1080p. You can choose your image resolution and ratio according to your needs. Next, go to Vray tab, then under the image sampler, you can choose progressive or bucket. In my previous video, I have described the differences between these two options. For the optimal result of render elements, I am choosing the bucket render sampling. Here my mean subdivs are 1 and maximum is 64. Here I am choosing a noise threshold of 0.005 to provide a nice clean render without noise. Remember, the lower the noise threshold is, the longer it will take the image to render and there will be less noise. As we increase the noise threshold, it will take less time to render, but the amount of noise will also increase. So you have to find a balance depending on your computing power and your project deadline. For this tutorial, to show a noise-free image, I'm choosing the lower noise threshold of 0.005, but if you want to practice, you can always choose 0.01 as a noise threshold, which is the default, or you can just choose the progressive image sampling. Now, let's go to GI and select brute force as the primary engine. Why are we selecting brute force over irradiance map? To use certain render elements like Vray Lightmix and Vray Denoiser. I didn't change the light cache setting here and I left it default, which is 1000. Now let's go to settings tab, nothing to change here. Finally, the render elements tab. So this is the render element tab. There are no render elements, it's empty now, but here you can see an add button. Click on that and a list of Vray render elements will come up. Let's select the render elements we need. It varies depending on what you are rendering and what is your post-production method. First, I'm choosing Vray Extra Text render element. It will help to improve the texture of your image. This render element requires an additional setting. I will show it later. Secondly, I will choose Vray Lighting. This often comes in handy. Then I will add Vray Lightmix, which is very interesting and a comparatively new feature in Vray. You can manipulate every single light without rendering the scene again with Vray Lightmix. Now I'm adding Vray Denoiser. If you have limited time and a higher noise threshold in the render setting, you will need this. Now adding Vray reflection, you can increase the reflections of surfaces using this render element. Next, Vray refraction. It's similar to Vray reflection in terms of controlling the amount of refraction, things like glasses which have some kind of transparency, etc. Next, I'm adding Vray shadows, which will help control the shadows. Now I'm adding Vray wire color, which is a very important render element. It works similarly to object ID or material ID, but setting it up is easier than those two. Wire color gives you unique colors which makes selecting objects easier while editing. Lastly, I'm choosing Vray Z Depth, which is used to give depth of field according to camera focal length. So these are the render elements we are using for today's tutorial. Don't use anything you don't need, as it will only prolong the render time. The more render elements you use, the more time it will take to render. So now we have some additional settings for Vray extra text. If you don't use it, then it's not necessary. I will only show the basics. Press M to open Vray material editor, or you can go to rendering, material editor, then compact material editor. Select Vray extra text in the render elements tab and scroll down. Here the texture section doesn't have any maps. So now let's select an empty slot in the material editor. Click on this material/map browser and a window will pop up, and in the search bar search Vray Dirt or search Dirt. So this is Vray Dirt. Drag and place this in the texture slot. Choose instant, it's done. Now let's assign wire color to objects. I'm selecting these lamps, and here on the Create tab you will see name and color. Black is the default or dark gray is the default. Let's assign a different color to this object. Press OK. Let's do the same to the other objects. I'm selecting the objects and assigning their specific wire color. Now let's render this scene. Well, the render is done. This is the RGB color map. This is the extra text map, Vray lighting. These are all the individual lights, lamps, other lights, Vray environment map. So now let's go to Vray Denoiser. It removes noise from your render. As I used relatively high render settings, let's zoom in to see the noise removal. Let's enable and disable the denoiser and let's see if it removes any kind of noise. As you can see here, it does. If you look closely, you can see a slight difference or noise removal. Now let's go to Lightmix and manipulate the lights without rendering the scene again. Here you can see the list of all lights. If I deselect all lights, the image turns completely dark. And here you can see we can manipulate individual lights. We can change the colors from here. We can increase or decrease the intensity from here. I want to give a little yellowish tint to the lamps. So let's do it. Here is our rectangular light, which we can decrease the intensity of. So you get the point. You can manipulate your existing light sources from here. Now then, let's save all the render elements at the same time. To do that, go to the save icon and press and hold the left click of the mouse. If you hold, a menu will come up and select save all image channels in separate files. Select a specific folder, save as JPG image type or JPG image type. Put on the file name. I will just put 1 and under the JPG control, select the base setting. So again, these are all render elements. Their names are specified. So let's see how to do post-production with these files. Okay, now let's drag the RGB into Photoshop. This will work as our base layer. Here I'm renaming this layer as RGB. Now let's bring in Vray extra text map, drag and put it on top of the base RGB layer. After doing that, select the layer mode as multiply. As you can see, the layer adds extra texture and depth, but it's too much. Let's bring the opacity to 8 to 10%, or you can see the differences here. You can control the opacity according to your taste or need. Let's bring in Vray lighting map and set the layer mode to screen. Adjust the opacity. Now let's bring in the individual lights. If you want to manipulate the lights again, we already did that in Vray Lightmix, but if you feel like you need to increase or decrease the intensity of the lights, you can do that. Let's bring in the map, set the mode to screen. You can bring in the self-illumination map if you want. It improves the light illumination on reflective and refractive objects. Now let's bring in Vray wire color, and this is very important. As you can see, different objects are color coded differently. It makes it easier to select individual objects to manipulate them. With the magic selection tool in Photoshop, we can select a color. Then we can select similar. If you press similar, all the similar colors will be selected. All the parts of the same object will be selected. Let's hide the wire color layer and select the base layer. Press Ctrl plus C, then Ctrl plus V to copy the object. Now you can manipulate the object. You can do it by using a layer mask, but I don't use that. If I don't need a super precise selection, I do it in this way. After the lamps, I'm selecting the rug. I want to make it a little bit darker and contrastier. To use select similar, let's put the tolerance value around 10. Now it's selected properly and I can change the brightness, contrast or hue of the object. This render element is important as sometimes clients may not like the color of a certain furniture or a certain wall, and this makes it easier to change the particular surface or object. I'm not liking the yellowness of these plant pots, so I'm going to select all the pots using the wire color layer and change the saturation. Now let's bring in the Vray reflection map to increase reflections. Put it on the top layer and select the layer mode to screen. As you can see, it is increasing the overall reflections of surfaces. To tone it down, we will decrease the opacity. Then similarly, let's bring in the refraction map. It works the same way. Select the layer mode as screen. It will brighten the reflective surfaces. Adjust the opacity according to your taste or needs. Now before using Vray Z Depth map, I will merge all the layers to simplify the process, and I will delete the hidden layers. Let's bring in the Z Depth map, put it on top. Now duplicate the base layer. Select the Z Depth layer and copy it by pressing Ctrl plus C. Hide the layer. Select the top base layer. Create a layer mask by pressing this icon. Now press Alt and hold to go into the mask and then paste the Z Depth map. Press Ctrl plus T to deselect. Then select the top base layer, not the mask layer. Again, the top base layer, not the mask layer. Then go to Filter, Blur, Lens Blur. Then play with all these settings to achieve your depth of field and make sure the source is set to layer mask. Now I'm merging the layer with the layer below. So we are done with our render elements. Now I will show another post-production trick that I use normally, and it is called camera raw filter. Go to filter and camera raw filter. Adjust the temperature if you need to. You can change the exposure and shadows and always increase the clarity. You can also increase the texture and the vibrance a little bit. These are the basics of the camera raw filter. There are many more adjustments you can do here. So this is our image after post-production. Let's compare it to the original RGB. So this was our tutorial today. Give it a like and consider subscribing. Your subscription helps this channel a lot. I will try my best from now on to upload regularly. Thank you again. Stay safe and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.